Live. Should be.
Are we live?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We are live.
Good evening.
Evening, everybody. Welcome to the stream. As you'll see, Steve is fashionably late, so it's myself, Paul, and Jay so far. Welcome back to everybody in the chat who have already seen from last week's stream. It was a really good stream, so yeah, looking forward to this one tonight. Jay's got his John Smith's by the looks of things.
Got the usual tipple of choice for a Yorkshireman on a Friday evening, a John Smith.
Nice.
Absolutely.
I like it, mate. I like it. Evening, Steve. How we doing?
Evening, chaps.
Evening.
We were just saying we thought you were going to be fashionably late there, but just in time.
I know. I always get told I'm going to be late for my own funeral, so that will probably be right. Yeah. So
yeah. So welcome to the stream, everybody.
The choice is the Strongbow Rosé tonight.
Rosé.
Yeah.
Strongbow
I didn't
Rosé.
even know that existed.
Rosé.
Well,
Hey,
lads.
beautiful, that mate.
It's a
Beautiful.
bit posh, isn't it, rosé?
Yeah, I suppose you've got to have your five a day there, Steve.
That's it, mate.
I went straight for the whiskey of the night, lads. No beer, so
Straight away. Oh, Ross.
straight on it.
Hey up.
Remember, this is a Scottish edition, mate. We can't be sitting drinking beers. We've got to go straight for the whiskey.
Well, we can't see your bottom half, so I'm assuming you've got a skirt on as well then.
Trust me, mate. You don't want to see this bottom half.
That's for later.
I reckon there's a kilt involved here. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, there could be. Yeah, so welcome to the chat, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Thanks for joining us.
Evening.
Evening, Ryan.
Everybody who has joined again from last week. Appreciate everybody tuning in. And to all the new viewers, welcome. Hopefully you enjoy this stream tonight. We'll just have a drink, have a chat, and hopefully a bit of banter. So, yeah, first things first, I'll let everybody introduce themselves, just in case people don't know who everybody is. So, my name's Ross. I've got Bearded Reef channel. We've done this maybe, I think this is the third week now, if I'm right. Yeah, third week we've done this.
Yeah.
So, first week we were on Paul's channel, then we were on Steve's, now we're on mine. So, yeah, I'll pass you over to Paul just as a quick introduction. Paul from Fishpalace, and you can take it from there.
Yeah, good evening all. Fishpalace, got my own channel. Thank you for those that subscribe and watch my my videos. I'm not as frequent uploader as the rest of the guys, although hopefully that will change soon. Been reefing for nearly 7 years. Got a tank behind me, Reefer 450, and I've got 2 other tanks in the garage. So I think I'm well and truly hooked. But yeah, that's for me. Down to Jay.
Am I underneath you there, Paul?
You are. I don't know if I'm on your picture, but on mine you are. I'm on top.
I'm a place I've always wanted to be. That is.
Thank you.
I'm Jay, also known as Jason to like everybody else, but Jay's Real Reef. I started reefing about 6 months ago. Wanted to see how difficult it was. After seeing some beautiful reef tanks, found out it's really difficult. It's really expensive. But now I'm in it. but now I'm invested and I'm in it. So I'm not quitting. Never quit. So we'll see where it goes, and hopefully we can take everybody along with us. But yeah, happy Friday, everybody. And I think Steve, you're next to me here, Steve. In fact, that side. There you go, Steve.
It's the other way.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, you're there. Yeah. Welcome, guys. I'm Steve, otherwise known as Moggs' Aquarium. I have my channel, and I've got a Reefer 350. Been in the hobby around 3 years now. Started with a Red Sea 170, so I've had Red Sea tanks all the way through. Yeah, basically, I just dived in at the deep end, started doing the marine stuff, and like Jay said, it is expensive, but it's very rewarding, you know. So yeah, that's a little thing for me. But other than that, you know, it's just it's a great journey to be on, and you learn something new every day. That's the good thing I think about it.
Nice one. Yeah, so that is everybody. Obviously, like I say, I'm Ross from Bearded Reef, so welcome along. I think what we'll do is we'll just quickly discuss what's happened this week. I know that some of the big spenders have had some big items on the go, but
I was going to ask. You said he learns something every day. Steve does. I wanted to know what you'd learned. I wonder what you learned today, Steve.
I learned that my bank manager doesn't like me.
Steve,
you learned his name anyway, that's for sure.
Shopping, haven't you, Steve? You've done a bit of shopping.
Yeah,
done a bit of shopping today.
Just a little bit of shopping, mate. Just a little bit. Yeah.
Have you left me something to go and get tomorrow? I hope you've left me something there.
I'm not going to say to you.
You better have, mate.
I've took yours, by the way.
No, that's not how it works.
He said you didn't pay the deposit.
To be fair, I asked him if he wanted a deposit. He said no. You're a trustworthy Yorkshireman. To be fair,
mate,
what? You can't believe I'm spending that amount of money.
I said that to him. I said, you see what he drinks every week? He drinks John Smith's. I won't trust him, mate.
There's Yorkshire tea as well, though, mind.
Yeah. All about the tea.
Everybody likes a Yorkshire tea. Everyone.
Who doesn't? The best brew ever.
That's it.
So, this week, for me, I'll go first. But for me, this week, there was some ups and downs. Started off the week, you might notice that there is actually no clownfish in my tank just now. So was looking at them the other week, and one of them had fluke just below the gill. The other one had it on its tail. So I've took them back out, put them in the hospital tank again, and ran a fluke treatment on them. So we're back to the whole hospital scenario again. But the good news tonight is when I was looking at them yesterday, the fluke's completely gone. So I'll keep treating them in the tank, and fingers crossed we've got that and get them back in there again. Yeah, that's my my kind of problems this week.
What did you use to treat them with? What chemicals or medication did you use, Ross?
NT Labs. Let me just get it. 2 seconds.
Evening, Cobler.
So where do you get fluke from then? Is it something that they could bring from the LFS? Is it fluke?
So I don't actually know where it come from, Jay. I don't know if Paul or Steve, you know more about that. But basically, when I got the fish, you obviously know the whole saga that I had with the carry on with the wound on it and so on. But got that all fixed and sorted out, and then noticed the spots on it. So that was when I wasn't sure if it was white spot or fluke. Done a bit more looking, and from looking online, it turned out that it was fluke. Treated it for fluke, cleared it up. I think the problem that I'd done was I only done one fluke treatment. I believe that when you do a fluke treatment, you've got to follow it up with a second one, roughly about 6-7 days later. I didn't do that the first time, so my fault. That was me. So put them back in the tank again, and obviously came back. So they're back out now. I've done the first treatment. It's all cleared up. I will do the second treatment, make sure everyone's good, and then get them back in again. But yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare with that one. So
it's a good job you acted pretty quick, because I understand I never had it before, never had an experience. I've had white spot in the tank before, but not fluke. I know it can accelerate really quick and can kill fish in a matter of 24, 48 hours. So I don't know much about it other than what I've read online, and that's it. Whereas unfortunately white spot, I know quite a bit about it, having had it in one of the tanks before, right at the very beginning when I had tanks.
Yeah,
but I was kind of a bit worried that it was white spot to start with, but then I think fluke potentially could be worse, to be honest with you. Like you say, I think you can kill them pretty quick.
Flukes and velvet and all that are 10 times worse than white spot. You know, white spot, you can, if you treat white spot, you catch it at the beginning, you can relatively treat white spot. You know what I mean? With flukes, it's and velvet, you're lucky. You know what I mean? You need to catch it really quick before, you know what I mean? Otherwise, like Paul says, it can wipe a tight tank out in 24 hours. You know what I mean? So
yeah. The only thing it's worth. So go on, Steve.
No, if it was a choice between flukes or white spot, I'd have white spot any day. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
we can't choose it, can we? We can't choose it. You know what I mean? That's it. So
yeah, the only thing it's worth looking into with white spot, if you take the fish out, you're supposed to leave a tank fallow for a number of days. It varies. Some people say 72 days. Some people say less. I don't know with fluke whether you have to do the same thing or not. So it's worth researching, because you may have to keep them in the QT for a while if it stays dormant in the tank. So it's worth looking into, because with white spot, that's what you should do. You keep it dormant, it's dormant, you let it go, it dies off, and then you can put your fish in, and then your tank's eradicated of it, because it stays dormant in all tanks, white spot. But I know very little about fluke, so I can't speak with any confidence around it.
Yeah, I think from what I had read anyway, I think it was just the incubation period for the eggs. So once you do your first treatment, I believe it's like 6-7 days after that, that you should do a follow-up treatment for the eggs. So I don't know if anybody knows in the comments, then let me know if there's any other things you got for fluke. But I believe the 2 treatments should hopefully do it anyway, kill off the eggs and the flukes. But I don't know if there is a fallow period. I'll probably need to look into that a bit more, Paul, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm just really happy those fish are with you, Ross, because boy, mate, you've splashed out on those fish. You've looked after them, you've cared for them, and it just goes back to why people are in this hobby. We're in this hobby because we love marine life, and you've really looked after them. Joking aside, though, they spent more time in that quarantine tank than they have in the so why don't you just swap it out on your desk?
I know, I should do. I should just swap it and I'll have all the corals downstairs. Move that one back up here. That'll be fine.
But mate,
at least you'll see them more. At least
oh, that is true.
Where are they in the moment? Are they in like the utility room or something? Is that where they are, in the kitchen or?
They're in the kitchen just now, Jay. Yeah.
Well, maybe they prefer it there, so they get disease just so it's more interested in the kitchen.
Well, they're right next to the cooker, so I think they just want some food. That's all it is.
Well, you've done a cracking job with them, to be honest.
Thanks, mate. So yeah, that's my drama for this week. Paul, have you had any dramas this week?
No, all been good. I've managed to film a video, so that will go up this weekend. So that's now 2 in 2 weeks. So that will be a record for me. That's where I've been spending most of my time. I've ordered 3 corals for someone locally, so a couple of sticks, and also hopefully picking up a gold hammer next week as well. So I haven't had a gold hammer before, so that should be pretty nice. So pick that up week. But other than just the kind of usual maintenance that I've been doing, and been doing that quite a bit this week after letting it slip for a few weeks. Been a bit of a quiet week. I've been watching you guys more than doing much myself.
just Ross, just going back onto that post that you just had about UV. Somebody mentioned about UV.
This one here from Harry.
Yeah, that one there with a UV. What do you guys think on that? I run my tank with a UV, and I always have done. I run the 170 with a UV, and I've run the 350, and I upgraded to a bigger one. The UV obviously, it supposedly kills the parasites as it goes through, because you run it on a slower pump. So I have mine going from a separate pump through the UV, but it's going through it dead slow, like literally, I couldn't even like 200 litres an hour or something, dead slow, yeah. So it basically kills any parasites that's in the water column. And touch wood, I haven't had anything like that, you know what I mean? And I do believe that it's down to the UV, definitely, in my opinion, but maybe other people think different. It'd be interesting to know, what they think on that.
Steve, is that the main reason why people get UV sterilizers? Is it to get bugs, or is it it's not algae then? No, nothing to do with algae.
No.
Oh, okay.
It can help, I believe, algae, but the majority of people, in my opinion, and what I've been told, from LFS store owners and stuff, is that they buy them primarily for risk of parasites, to prevent it. I'm not saying it works 100%, but you know what I mean? I'm not saying that because there's no proven statistic that says it works 100%, But in my opinion, you know what I mean? I believe that it actually works because, I've put fish in my tank, they've stressed, they've got white spot, and then I fed them with garlic, put the food with garlic, fed the fish, and the day later, the white spot's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So something must be happening, you know what I mean? Because I've never treated it. So
how many other people agree with Harrow that they wouldn't be without a UV sterilizer? Because I'd be interested to know how important people think that piece of kit is. Because
go on.
I think there's a couple of people in the comments. So there's a Backshift Reefer said I run a UV on a separate pump on my big tank too. I think Reef Community Worldwide had said that he runs it as well. Ryan Shackleton ran UV and able to keep the tanks that are known for white spot.
Yeah, good point.
What else have we got?
Worst ones for the tangs. Worst ones for the tangs are the blue. The Doris. They always seem to get black spot.
Yeah,
always.
Regal. Yeah, that's what I had on mine. I had a Regal and a Vampire when I first set up the tank, and it was within about 2 months of setting the tank up. They must have been stressed out. I had Polyp Lab at the time, which helps to clear it out, but it doesn't kill the white spot. And after that, it was fine. I haven't got a UV. If I set up another big tank and had more than just a yellow tang, then I would run a UV. But I've got pretty much hardy fish, so I take that risk. I know it's a risk, but they're pretty much okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's interesting. What Paul's put from Reef Community, algae for fast flow. Yeah. So I'm presuming you need fast flow and it kills the algae. Yeah. And parasites for slow flow. I never knew that. I knew that to run. Well, it says it on the instructions, to be truthful, on where you get it to run it slower through it. So that's all I did. I stuck to the instructions, run the water through it, bought a dead slow pump, and it basically trickles out of it. You know what I mean? Out of mine.
That's a really good point from Reef Community Worldwide there, because I've seen a lot of videos around you run it faster. People do it to clear up dinos. When I have a real bad outbreak of it, there's been a lot. BRS TV and other people have done videos around fast for algae and slow for white spot. So that's a really good, interesting one.
Yeah, it is.
So when I've got enough sump space, it looks like I'm getting a UV.
Even in the
There's not a bad comment about a UV sterilizer there, is there? No one said anything negative about having one.
No. I mean, there's even Reef Cube Dan there said never used a UV and never had problems. So I think people who are using them find them successful, and people don't have them and still have success. So it's probably a mixture of the two, to be honest. I mean, I don't have one purely because my tank's tiny. I know you get them externally and you can pipe them in, which is something I did look at, but I've not done it just now. I don't honestly think I will do it, but if I get, or should I say when I get the upgrade, then yeah, I think I probably will do it.
Most people seem to have it if they have tanks. Most of the people I know that have got a bigger tank and numerous amount of tanks, they have that just to try and drive the white spot out of the tank.
Sorry, Paul. Sorry.
You go on. Yeah.
Is it more prevalent if the fish have caught from the sea that they're going to carry parasites and disease, or is it more likely to be tank-bred fish, or is it just luck of the draw?
I think it could be both, because it is dormant in a tank, and as I think someone put earlier on, the slime coating comes off a fish. They're stressed out, or they're weak, and then what happens, it attaches to them. If a fish is really, really healthy and they've got a good slime coat, they're less likely to get it. So it remains dormant in the tank unless you've allowed it to be fallow.
Yeah. With you just saying tangs, that's all. I know a lot of tangs. What? Ross, you can't let that comment go by without mentioning
this one here from Super Yellow Tang.
What about his missus in the bedroom?
Well, I don't know if that's him calling his missus a parasite or she just doesn't like the light. I'm not really sure.
In the bedroom. Yeah, but if you've got some nice white boxes on, it's all go, isn't it? That UV. I think it's
I think in smaller tanks, what does he say? They can be a pain to fit. Yeah. Because I'm not being funny. I haven't really seen. In fact, actually, on my little nano tank there, I was going to say I haven't seen a little UV sterilizer type thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, UV light. And then I realised on my hang on the back filter on this little epoxy 50-litre tank that I've got here. Yeah, I've actually got a hang on the back filter, and it's actually got an inbuilt UV built into it, a little tiny bulb built into the back of it. And I you know what I mean? I've only just thought about it. I thought, did they do small ones? Then I realised they do. You know what I mean? But I've never seen them for sale. But
there's a good comment from Backshift Reefer there saying that he thinks Innovation Marine do one that fits in the water box filter sock chamber.
Wow.
So I will have a look at that. Thank you very much.
That wouldn't surprise me, because that company specialises in really small kit for tanks that have the chambers at the back. I've had some of their kit in the past, and it's pretty good quality of an algae light and also a skimmer and a reactor from them. When I had a small tank on my first tank, it works really well. But going back to the UV, there's a couple of comments on there. One around having to change the bulbs every 6 to 9 months. And also one of the other things that people I know, they run a separate pump on it, not just because of the flow, but also if you let it run dry, it can it blows the bulb as well.
Yeah.
I know you could get a separate pump and that can blow it, but if you put it on fee mode and other things like that, so I think there is a bit of care and maintenance you have to do in replacing the bulb. And there's one make where the bulb is really expensive. I can't remember what the name of it. Maybe someone knows yeah, there's one that's quite an expensive UV, and it's quite a lot to replace the bulb as well, from what I understand. But it's quite a good reputation.
Which one is the industry leader then for UV sterilizers? Which is the most popular, most common?
I have the Vectron. The Vectron seems to be popular because they do, I believe, it's like a 3, a 4, and a 600. I believe that's what I believe it is: a 300, a 400, a 600. Yeah, maybe they might do a big one. I've got the 300 in mind.
Vectron.
Vectron, yeah, Vectron. Yeah. It is a big piece of kit, to be truthful.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
The one I was thinking of is what Galgal's put there. That's the one I think is more expensive, but supposed to be really good. But like a lot of things, it's really good. It comes with a price tag, and the bulbs are quite. Galgal, I think the bulbs are pretty expensive as well, aren't they? Have you got to send it back to be replaced? I could be making up, or whether I've just read it online. Galgal.
That's an interesting point that someone says. Yeah. Sorry, I'm reading somebody else's comments.
What one was that, Jay?
I'm just reading Neil's comment, which I think is a really good one. Will the UV kill copepods? Yeah. Because obviously they're a little parasite, aren't they? So that's an interesting one. And how do you stop it? Yeah, that's a really great question. That is. Yeah,
I don't know the answer to that one.
Well, actually, if you put the copepods in the tank, I learned this, because I was putting them in the sump. Because originally on the 350 when I first started it out, I decided to experiment and I put a Cheeto in, and I started to run the Cheeto method as opposed to thing. So I was basically putting copepods in the Cheeto to make a population, in there.
Yeah.
And then somebody said to me, do you run a UV because it'll kill them? If they get through the Cheeto and they come through the sump, it will kill it. You know what I mean?
I can't say it wouldn't kill them, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple of comments saying that it won't, and then there's one there saying that it sterilizes them so they can't reproduce. So I think there's a kind of mixed opinion there.
Sterilizes?
Sterilizes?
Yeah.
They get the sniffers to go through.
There's a good comment from Bravo20 saying copepods are crustaceans, so surely they'd be better protected.
I don't know.
Good point.
There's the debate, isn't it? It's a good question. That was by Neil. Evening, Neil. Evening.
Well done, Neil. We're 26 minutes in and we've caused a debate.
I'm sure there's a BRS TV video on that somewhere.
There will be somewhere, yeah.
There's quite a few in UV. It might cover it off in terms of does it harm copepods and that.
Probably,
a couple of people said it doesn't.
No.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that was a good point.
I've never put any copepods in my tank. Never done it. Is that what lots of people like top them up? And how often do you top your copepods up?
Well, you're supposed to put you add copepods because they are a good food source, for fish. For picking fish as well. Yeah. So like butterfly fish and stuff like that. Yeah, they have they do tend to pick, but mainly like mandarins. If you have mandarin dragonettes and stuff like that. Yeah, that's the main. Because that's their main source. You do get mandarins who eat frozen food, but they're few and far between. Do you know what I mean? But I have my mandarin in my tank, and I even though I know I've got a good population in there, I still dose like 10. I put 10 bags of copepods in a month. Just to keep it, just to top it up, just to top the tank up.
Yeah.
But that's all I do. But I do know people who put 5, 6, 7 bags in a week. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Steve, do you pour all the fluid in as well?
Yeah.
How do you know that fluid? I guess it's tank water is safe. How do you know?
You don't, do you? But I believe if they're living in it, if they're living in it and they're active and they're alive, then all right, it might contain, it might contain a little bit of something. But when you're thinking of a little 10 mil, 10, 100 mil bag or something like that. You know what I mean? In your tank. Especially if you've got a larger tank, it won't really. I don't think it will make an issue. It hasn't to mine anyway. So you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I use, when I set up a tank, I put Copepods and live brine shrimp in, just to get some biodiversity in there. I think it helps. But then I've got a mandarin in this tank, and I feed that daily.
Oh yeah.
As you can see.
Frostbite.
So they're suspended Copepods, they're not live, and they absolutely love it. So I feed every day that, and in the other tank I've got a pipefish as well. Fortunately, both of them actually eat frozen. So I made sure the LFS I've got, just making sure they're on frozen beforehand. It makes such a big difference, because I've got quite a few wrasse in this tank. The wrasse just eat all critters. So any Copepods you put in there, there isn't a healthy, I suppose, colony of Copepods in there. So that's why I use those, and it just goes in the fridge, and it works really well. So I dose that every day in that tank, and also in the other tank for the pipefish. But I'm quite lucky, both of them eat mysis, and you see them just munch on it. Anything is, you got to target feed them in that tank, because when you've got a tang and lots of wrasse, they're greedy fish. But in the smaller tank, it's quite docile. I've only got 4 fish, so I haven't got to worry about target feeding that one. But I just find that is excellent. I'm not, don't get that free of charge or anything, by the way. But it's a really good, I think it's a good product.
10 bags a week, is that someone put then?
Yeah, Neil.
Yeah, I think Neil and Reef Uk Worldwide, both 10 bags a week.
I think I could at least put 1 or 2 in mine. I think I might do that, actually.
You know what? It'll benefit the tanks, mate. Because and especially if you've got no predators in there, So like we said, mandarins and stuff, they'll populate, mate. You know what I mean?
Representing Jay.
Yeah. Nice one, mate. I love my sticker. It's ace. Love it. Thank you.
Mine's is up on the wall somewhere.
Jay, I tell you what you should look to do. You can cultivate your own brine shrimp. And it's really easy. You just get a plastic bottle, take the bottom off of it, turn it upside down. You can get some brine shrimp eggs, and you put them in the salt water. You need a light, so you could do it on top of your tank. And then in 48 hours, you've got baby brine shrimp, and they're quite nutritious. That's probably the most nutritious they are after about 48 hours. And fish absolutely love them. I used them when I bred the Bengal cardinals. And so I was cultivating them every 24 hours. It's really easy, and it's a really good source of food. It's not as nutritious as what you find frozen food and that, but it's quite fulfilling to actually breed these things or cultivate them and put them in the tank. And the fish absolutely love it. And the actual eggs are pretty cheap. You can get them online for about 8-9 quid a pot, and they last ages. And you don't, if you breed them above your tank, you don't need any additional light source. You need an air pump, but it's pretty good as additional food.
Like you say, I think it goes back to that just biodiversity. So a healthy ecosystem has a range of biodiversity. So adding that will help, won't it? So you convinced me. I need Copepod. I'm just spending money on this chat. I need Copepods. And then when I get a new tank, I need a UV sterilizer.
Jay, don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't.
Once you start spending, you spend, mate. You can't stop.
I think if one thing's for sure, Jay, you already know how to spend money. We don't need to teach you that one.
It's true. I've spent my budget. I've spent my monthly budget in one hit.
So I take it that moves us on to Jay now for his weekly update of what he's been doing.
Is it my weekly update?
Yeah, I think it is, mate.
So I tested my water parameters about 4 days ago, and my magnesium was low. It's about 1200, which I believe is quite low. I've been dosing alkalinity and calcium. So I started dosing calcium about 2 weeks ago. I dosed alkalinity for the last 2 or 3 months, actually. That's the first thing I started dosing. But my magnesium's dropped to 1200, so I've had to start dosing Red Sea magnesium. But you might laugh at this. 0.5 ml a day I have to put in the little nano. 0.5 ml. 0.5 ml a day. So when I got the liquid bottle and I put it in the, in the TMC containers, it said I had about 196 days. So it's going to last me quite a while. But
wow.
Yeah, and I was trying to understand what magnesium kind of does. Obviously, it's part of coral growth, but is it part of coloration as well? Because I have noticed some of my colours aren't as bright and as vibrant as I wanted. So I think maybe if I've got a bit more magnesium in there, that might help. But yeah, I've had a magnesium deficiency really. But I tested the water. It told me that it was low. So then I've dosed based on that. And then I'm going to retest tomorrow, see where kind of the levels are. What's that say? Let's make Oh my God.
Jay wishes his shopping bill was over 100. Was 100.
Mate, I'm skint. I can't afford anything anymore. Skint. Yeah, and Jay, get all three. Yeah, people have done. Yeah, to be honest, I was torn between all for reef and then separates, and I just decided on the separates because I thought I had more controllability over each parameter. That's what I went for. But I've heard all for reef's amazing. I've heard that it's really, really good. But yeah, so I'm dosing magnesium, and as I say, I've bought a new coral, which is cost me a bit of money. But I think that's.
I take it that's in your. That coral going to be in your next video, is it, Jay?
Not in the next one, in the one after.
Nice.
I've got to go and pick it up tomorrow. So yeah, I'm in the one after. Yeah. But that's about it, really. I think. To be fair, Nem stayed in one place. We've had a good week on the Nem. I'll take that. Stayed pretty happy in one place. Yeah, so it's not been a bad week actually. But yeah, I learned how to dose magnesium for the first time, which I know most people on here are like, I've been doing that for ages, but for me that was like a new thing. So another challenge kind of ticked off, as it were.
Yeah, very good, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Steve, what about you, mate? What's well, I don't know if we should start that this time in the stream because we'll be here all night listening to what you've been up to this week, mate.
Oh my God, yeah, he's gone nuts, hasn't he?
Yeah, where do we start? Well, to start with, everybody knew that I was talking about the KH keeper. Everybody knew that I wanted one of them. So it started with on Monday. I thought, you know what, I bit the bullet and I bought a KH keeper. So I installed that Tuesday. Yeah.
This is a Craig David song.
What's that? Yeah. On Tuesday I installed it, and then I posted a video up on my channel. So definitely check that one out. That's for sure. So yeah, like I said, I posted that up, did that. So basically, all through the week, I've been trying to dial it in. There is a few issues. I'm going to be doing a long-term. I'm going to do a month update on it, and there is a few pros, but there's certainly some negatives, to it. That is for sure. So before people go out and buy one, just check. Wait till you check this channel. I've been writing it all down, everything. You know what I mean? What I've been doing. But yeah, bought that, installed that, just getting that on track now. And then I purchased some corals as well off a fellow reefer. He lives about 30 minutes away from me. That's on another one of my videos that I posted. I basically done 3 videos this week, so definitely check that out. Yeah. But yeah, did that. And then the big thing was my torch coral that I got. That was an issue when I bought the torch coral. I bought it from my LFS, but their tanks run at 8 to 8.5 DKH in their tanks, in their systems, you see. So when I came home, I dipped the coral, obviously. I acclimated it, got it to temperature, done the whole thing, what you're supposed to do. And then basically I put it in the tank. But my main display tank runs between 10 and 10.5, run high DKH in the main display, yeah. Now, over the past couple of days, I noticed the first day it was okay. But the second, the third day, it started to recede, and I thought, I thought it was actually going to polyp bail. It just wasn't looking right. But I was just thankful and fortunate that I've got a smaller tank in here, which, going on to what Jay said about the Alpha Reef, that's what I dose in there, and it maintains a rock steady 8.5 in there now. Dosing that Alpha Reef in there. I dose 5 mil in it daily, and it keeps it maintained at 8.5. So I put the torch in there, and it's never looked any better. So I'm assuming, I don't know what you guys think on the stream, whether DKH would affect certain corals, i.e. torch corals, Euphilia and stuff like that, because I believe it's definitely affecting mine, you know, in there, because now it's looking perfect. So since it's in an 8.5, so I'm going to have to keep it in there. And so far, so good. He seems to be doing okay. I mean, I also bought a clam in there. I love clams. You know what I mean? Clams are basically they take any excess nitrates out of your tank, phosphates. They're like filter cleaners. So you know, it's always handy to have a clam, but in a fairly maturish tank. So I've done that, and then I've done exactly what Jay did. I bought another coral today, which I'm posting up a video. Probably maybe next week it will be. It's not going to be this week. I'm going to post a video up and that and see how it goes. Do you know what I mean? But the other one was my biggest purchase, what I've got. But other than that, mate, a fairly quiet week.
Nice one. See, just going back to what you were saying about the torch with the DKH, is there a way that you can almost acclimate it to a higher DKH level? Is there a way you can do that, mate, or is it just a case of tough luck? That's what it's been.
Well, I think it's a bit of tough luck, and that's how it is, mate. Because what I did was I floated the bag in the tank, so it got up to temperature. And then what I did is I put it in a bucket, and then I slow drip acclimated it once I dipped it. You know what I mean? So I've done all the right thing, and I basically like more than trebled the amount of water that was in the bucket. So it had my tank water in it. So it was definitely the same parameters of what the tank was, and it seemed all right in the bucket. So I put it in it, and like I said, for the first day it was okay. It was thriving. It was like, you know, dead polyp extension. It was really, really good. But then the second and the third day, I started to see them. You know, the polyps started to shrink and shrink, and I thought it was going to polyp bail. I've had that before, so and I thought to myself, I can't lose this. You know what I mean? I need to, and I'm just fortunate that I had another tank which runs lower DKH. And the moment I didn't even acclimate it. I just took it out of the tank, stuck it in the smaller tank, and it's never looked better. It just seems to have adapted to it. So I don't know whether it's in my mind or what, but it definitely done something to it. I don't think it like the DKH salinity in there.
That would make sense, because if you do have big swings in alk in your tank, it can affect more SPS than LPS. But you know, 2.5 difference, and you're just shocking it. And then some things can take time. I mean, SPS can take 2-3 weeks before they decide to strip. So it makes sense that, you know, a couple of days later it then becomes unhappy. But just please, you put it in somewhere else, and it's thriving now.
I was just, like you said, Paul, I'm just thankful that I had a second tank, because other than if I only had that display tank, then it was to leave it to itself, wasn't it? If it dies, then you lose a lot of money. And it's not about the money for me, it's about like the health of the coral. If the coral is looking bad, and I get gutted. I don't know about you guys, but if something dies in my tank, I'm gutted about it. You know, I'm thinking, what the hell? And then it's racking on in my head, thinking, what have I done wrong? Have I done something wrong? You know what I mean? And then I'm trying to chase it to see what's gone wrong with it. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's definitely had something to do with the DKH. It's got to have, you know what I mean? But Steve, I don't know. I'm not.
You know,
sorry, Jay?
Ryan Shackleton's got an orange hammer. Have you got one? Have you got one? Have you found out what yours is yet? Is it orange?
Orange, yeah.
Nice coral into that.
Beauty, mate.
Is that the one that you just...
That's another thing what I bought. Yeah, Jade reminded me. I bought an orange coral as well, an orange hammer. Yeah.
Just forgot.
you know what it is with me.
Was that Thursday or Wednesday?
Was it Tuesday?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think I've actually bought. I think I've bought some every solitary day this week. I think so. You know what I mean? I think I have actually.
I think that we've had an update every day of the week. I'm pretty sure there has been something.
Hey, I told you I was going to update my channel. I told you that though, did I? I'm going to up the videos. I said, you know.
You've certainly upped your game, Steve, of everything you've bought. That's for sure. With the conversion of the frag tank, and then stocking that out, loads of kit, and then even more slightly nice corals this week as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's the frag tank, mate. Is it looking good?
Yeah, it's looking. You know what? Actually, it's looking better than my main display. I think. You know, honestly, honestly, God, there's no algae in it. I'm thinking this is too good to be true. I'm waiting for the disaster, but no. Like I said, I don't do water changes in my main display tank. Yeah, I do a 20-litre change on this. Sorry, a 20% change on this every week. You know what I mean? Yeah, I was going to do it bi-weekly. But I've definitely noticed the difference when you do 20% in a small nano. You know what I mean? This is my first small tank I've ever had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The polyps, like the corals just look like they've had a new lease of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's
no going back. There's no going back.
They look totally different. Yeah, they look totally different. So it's like, so now I'm going to stick to every week. You know what I mean? And it looks really good, mate. I'm going to do a big update on the little nano tank. That's for sure. Nice
one. So there's a poor Gago again said we're being evil. I'm just continue telling him livestock I can't currently get.
Sorry, Gago.
Feel for you, mate.
Yeah,
I do.
But
so yeah, that's
sorry, but there does seem to be more and more people that are willing to post. Or send calls, isn't there? I don't know if Galgo, they send it to the Isle of Man, but certainly we was having a conversation earlier this week around LFS versus online and posting out and things like that. And, you know, you look about some of the, I suppose it's a risk to the seller, isn't it? If they're sending out calls that are 200, 400 quid, all it's got to do is being delayed. And we've said, people were talking about it last week, there's no, you know, you can't get insurance. You can for the postage, but not for the actual coral itself. That's
this kind of brings me on to a topic that I was going to discuss. I think you mentioned it earlier, Paul, but actually during the week I was speaking to Nano Tank Reefer, who's on Instagram and also has a YouTube channel. He has actually really kindly gifted me some coral that he had. He had some zoas that he was wanting to frag. There was too many of them. There's Jay down there that way somewhere.
He's got enough.
So he actually gifted me some zoas, and long story short, he arranged a day to post them to me. So he contacted me and says, I'll post them on Tuesday, you'll receive them on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So Wednesday came, Mrs. sat in the house all day, no post arrived. Now it was special delivery, guaranteed before 1 p.m, no sign of them. Following day, they arrived at 12:15 lunchtime. So that had been 2 and a bit days they'd been in the box for. Came and the heat pack was still warm, and touch wood, they've survived. Sulking a wee bit, but they've survived. But at the same time, I know that Nano Tank Reefer also posted a torch to another guy, and it didn't survive. So it's a big risk to take to post things. But that was kind of one of the things you touched on earlier, Paul, during the week was, you know, what is everybody's opinions on the postage of corals? You know, do you think that it's better to go to your LFS and buy a coral from there? You can see it, you get it, you don't pay the postage costs. Or do you go online, save a bit of money? Okay, you've got to pay postage costs, but you don't know what you're getting all the time, and you're taking that risk of the post. You know, I think Jay's had issues with postage before where there's been corals not great, and, you know, I've had it there. So I don't know what you guys think, but for me personally, I think I would rather always go and get a coral in person than buy online. I know it's sometimes easier to say that than do it, but I think for me, I would rather go and get one in person anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. My preference is to support local fish store for a couple of reasons. One, you know, they certainly helped me in the past quite a bit when I first started out, and so going to see them. And also, I prefer to go and see what I'm buying, because sometimes you get something through the post that's spot on, and other times you think, really, did I really order that? And the kind of the quality. And we've done this conversation that online used to be a lot cheaper. I'm not too sure now. Certainly in some of the higher end stuff, I've seen things like Gold Torch and other things where my LFS is actually cheaper than online when you look at the postages as well. But then I'm quite blessed with the number of shops I've got around me. I don't have to go that far to get some really good coral, but I know that's not the same for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's really important to support your LFS, but sometimes you just can't get those special pieces, those really nice pieces that are on your wish list, and you could be going to your LFS for like 2-3 years until that piece turns up or whatever. And, you know, when a nice piece turns up in an LFS, it's gone within an hour or something. So I think online, it gives you that opportunity to get those really nice pieces. And, I mean, there's some really good online sellers. Prestige Reef. I mean, obviously, a lot of people follow his channel. His corals are amazing, like super clean, no parasites, really well fragged, and super healthy. And I've had no problem with Prestige Reef. And then Kingdom of Corals, again, really big frags, amazing kind of corals as well. So those two, I'll go back to them all the time.
Yeah.
Even though they're not an LFS, I feel like I've got trust with them. And apologies if I upset anybody here, but I'll never buy an eBay coral ever again, because that's where I was stung on some makey up someone's pacemaker.
No, that's my my sensor, my KH for my diabetes.
Oh, is it? Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've now got, where is it attached? I showed you the other day. So that's the equivalent of the KH keeper. So that takes my blood every 5 minutes and then puts it onto my phone. So it goes high. It's better than the KH keeper. Actually, I've had it for about 6 weeks now, and it's brilliant. My control of my sugars have been far better than ever before. So it's a little bit higher, which it is in a moment. I've just taken some insulin. That alerts me. So it's exactly like the Apex or a Mastertronic or a KH keeper, but keeping me alive.
At this moment in time, your monitor is probably a lot more stable than my monitor, my KH keeper. That's for sure.
I hope so.
No, I agree with what Jay said exactly. 100%. Don't get me wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll do, and Paul, I suppose as well. Yeah, it's like I prefer to support my local LFS. You know what I mean? Like my little local LFS, they help me out so much. You know, when I was first starting out on a journey, yeah. Even though I revised and I researched things for ages, yeah, knowledge is key, you know, in this game, yeah. And for people who've been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years, I just took them. They could have been, you know, they could have been lying to me. I just took them for that, but thankfully it wasn't. You know what I mean? So I do go and support them, and I do buy some corals. But like Jay says, some special coral that you want, some super, you know, some really nice super coral what you want. Sometimes there's no option other than to order online or on a website or anything like that. Pre-book, pre-order it, do whatever you need to do. You know what I mean? But I have had bad experiences with corals being delivered, so you know, dead on arrival and stuff like that. So I do tend to stay away from them. But if it was anything, I would prefer to go to my LFS. That's for sure.
Yeah, I do think you pay. We were working our way about 20%, roughly about 20% more for the privilege of an online order as opposed to going to maybe an LFS. LFS seem cheaper, don't they? More cost effective.
I think the higher end stuff. Yeah,
they don't have to post it. You don't have to post it. They don't have to bag it up. They don't have to ship it. You know what I mean? So it's a lot easier.
So for me anyway, I mean, I was kind of struggling to find a good LFS for me. I know there's one in Glasgow that's meant to be really good, but it was kind of a bit far away from me. So I managed to find mail order corals, and luckily enough, they allow you to go and collect them. So that's who I've been using, and touch wood, they've been good so far. But yeah, I mean, if I didn't have the choice of going to pick up from mail order corals, I'd kind of be struggling for somewhere to actually get good corals local to me, I think. I mean, there's the Maidenhead Aquatics, or Fishkeeper Scotland as they're called, but all the corals in there are dull, they're brown, you know, there's not a great choice. So it is a bit of a struggle sometimes. There is smaller local shops, but you're limited to what you can get. So like you, Jay, I mean, I've got to make a kind of wish list of what I want. So you can't just be going into the shops and saying, "Oh, I'll just take that because it's there." You know, I want to have something that I want rather than just for the sake of it. So it's a bit difficult, really.
I think if you choose a couple of companies or LFSs and stay loyal to those companies, they'll probably order you what you want in. You're not going to get ripped off. I think they'll look after you, and I think that's what it's about: finding a couple of trusted sellers, whether that's your LFS or online. And just use them, and they'll look after you. There's a lot of good people, isn't there, in the hobby, and I think they look after you as well and give you some decent stuff.
I think that's a fair comment, especially for fish. There's only one place I'd go for fish, because that's probably, I mean, with corals, you can bring in pests and stuff, can't you? But you can dip those and you can examine it. With fish, I think I'm a bit more cautious on fish in terms of where I buy them for. I wouldn't go online. That's just my personal. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just not for me. But if I want anything, I can just go to AAC and Paul will order it for me if I need anything. And then that sits in the tank for a couple of weeks. It's not as good as me QTing my own stuff, but I'm comfortable with that, and I get quality fish. I see that they've been fed. Anything that's a bit picky, they're frozen before I get it, like the mandarin, like the pipe fish. So for me, it's worth it just to find that reliable source. I think it's spot on there, Jay, to have that trusted person you go to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I've put this comment on the screen here from Harrow saying thanks for the suggestion on the white rock things. So basically, in my video last week, if you haven't seen it, I got these little frag rocks from Reef Geeks, which I think are really good. I mean, you know, I don't really like frag racks in the tank as such. So I got these little frag. This isn't sponsored at all. I paid for these, by the way. So I got these, and they're actually really good. So yeah, Reef Geeks is where you can get these from if you're interested.
You know my Zoa colony in my main display. That's on exactly the same one as them. That one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
You know
they're really good, to be fair.
You know your zoas that you got free, Ross?
Yes.
Are they a name that we know, or are they just a made-up name? Are they made-up knowers, or do you know what they are?
A made-up name.
I don't know if they're made up or not, but here is the ones that I got. So it's not a Bearded Reef special. So I got Fake Lime Chilies was the first one, which are actually really nice.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Wango Tango.
Not heard of that.
It's made that up.
No, it's a nice one.
That's definitely a made-up one, that is.
Wango Tango.
Wango Tango.
Yeah, I've never heard that one.
Are they all right?
That is that.
Yeah, Jay, you go into your local LFS and say, "Have you got any Wango Tango?"
Wango Tango.
You've been Wango Tangoed out there, mate.
Yeah. The other one is Orange Oxide and Scrambled Egg was other ones that I got.
Yes,
scrambled eggs are nice.
Yeah, nice scrambled eggs.
So that was the 4 pieces that Nanotank Reefer sent me up. So thanks for. I don't know if you're in the stream or not, but thank you very much anyway. So
I reckon you're competing with Backshift Reefer. Backshift Reefer with his Zoa garden, because you've got a lot of different colonies now, Ross, and he's got loads as well.
I think I'm up to 12. I think I've got 12 colonies as Zoas now, but it's still not a patch on Backshift Reefers. His is definitely better.
Has he been to the car again?
I think he has actually, but it doesn't seem to have got anybody else for drink.
I know, he's terrible for a round, isn't he?
Sorry,
because
mate.
He spent all his money.
Yeah.
Hey, so beans on toast for 2 weeks now, mate.
So that's kind of a good point that you made there, Jay, about the name. So why is it that, you know, calling corals by a certain name commands a higher price? Because it seems to be, you know, you get corals that you see, oh, that's quite a nice one. There's one very similar that's called a super ultra mega something that is 10 times more expensive. I just don't understand why that is.
No. Insane.
Have you heard there's a new one called Suck Me Off Zoa? Right? Ross, I reckon you should go in the LFS and ask for one.
Jay, it's only 8.53, Jay. 8.53.
I did ask for it, Ross, at the LFS.
I'll ask for that, mate. Yeah, I will go and ask for that.
Oh dear.
I think the guy's got a better beard than me, so it might be a bit awkward, that one. But yeah. There you go. Backshift Reefers wanting suck you off, Jay.
What's added to his collection?
Backshift Reefer, Jay has them in stock.
I don't, but there's a fish shop. His LFS has some of it.
It's collection only, I'm afraid, though, guys.
Collection only.
No postal. Right, so coming back to the question. As I say, coming back to the question, I think what I've seen in the last 7 years, more hype. Now, I don't know if that's driven by social media and people feel the need that they want that kind of extra coral, but certainly ultra, mega, saturated pictures, all that kind of stuff, I think is driven a lot of designer stuff, if you want to call it, most definitely, far more than it was even 12, 18 months ago, whether it comes over from the US, because they've had saturated pictures far longer than we have. In terms of to sell products, we will kind of like, where's, I want to see it under white, but over there it does seem to be ultra blue, and that's kind of come over to the UK, I think. So I think that's what's driving a lot of it from what I've seen, Ross.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed especially that a lot of the pictures seem to be heavily edited. They've all been in Lightroom, they've all been tweaked quite a lot. So, it's one of them. I mean, one of the corals I've got in there, the photo of it looked stunning, but when you actually see it, it's not quite as bright as that. So, they're commanding these ultra mega super corals, but are they really? That's. I think like you said earlier with the whole Zoa thing. Zoas used to be mega expensive, and now, they're not really the thing. It's torches and so on, and it seems to go through phases, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And if you go back 2 or 3, go on.
Sorry. I was just saying, it's definitely the torches at the moment, isn't it? If you just look at Instagram, there's so many people just with the torch gardens, euphyllia gardens, just posting those, and it's like you say, it's really pushed up the price, hasn't it?
Yeah, really it goes in cycles. I was saying to Ross earlier on, if you go back 2 or 3 years ago, when you could buy stuff from Facebook, there were some auction Facebook groups for Zoas, and Zoas were all the rage. And you'd find an auction, someone would go 100 quid and 150 quid, and it got up to 250 for a polyp of a Zoa that had a fancy name. And if you look at it, it would melt. And of course, then Facebook then banned all kind of sales. And I'm not saying that's the reason why the price of Zoas fell, but certainly there wasn't the supply and demand. But people were going mad over Zoas with fancy names, and people were saying they come from the US because I don't think you need CITES and things like that. So it does go in cycles. And now Zoas, you get some of the high-end one, but nowhere near as popular or in demand as they used to be, that people will pay over the odds. From what I've seen, I'm sure that some people still do, but it's not as it is for torches now, which has just gone mad, isn't it, for torches? And I know, Jay, you're after Holy Grail, like a lot of people to get those.
It'd be a little while until I can afford one of those again.
That's my final one for my reef. That's the only. I am not going to add any more. I just need to add one of them, and that's it.
I don't believe you.
I'm not going to add any more. I swear, mate. I swear.
So wasn't you, Paul, that saw a Holy Grail for 750?
Yeah, it was 750 quid for 4 heads, which you guys said is pretty reasonable, but I'm not prepared to pay that kind of money for a coral. And I like torches, but it's not my favourite, like you guys. I prefer chalice to a...
If it was posted, mate, I'd buy it. I'd buy it now.
I bet you would.
I would, mate. I would.
Melting, what's that? Zoa's melting away?
Yeah, there's some that just seem to be really tricky to keep, and some of the higher end ones, they're quite difficult to frag. So they'd be fragged and they would just melt. Hallucination was one that's quite difficult to get hold of. It's more popular. That used to be about 250 a polyp, and it's now about, I think it's Rainbow Hallucination. It's now about 150. Pink Diamonds used to be about 200 quid. I've seen them for about 30 quid a polyp. Obviously, where they've been fragged and fragged and fragged, I think they've become more hardy. But again, you'd look at them and they would melt. So I mean, that's where some of the rarity comes. They was quite slow growers, and they would just melt really easy. So I think that's what drove the price to go up. But once you 100 quid, it comes through and you put it in your tank and it melts, and they will just disappear overnight. And also, if Zoas have a habit of coming off the frag plugs as well, fairly new ones. You spend 200 quid on a polyp, it goes in your tank and then it floats around. You've got no chance of finding it unless you're really lucky. You haven't got much of a rockscape. So yeah.
And isn't there a Krakatoa Zoa as well? Krakatoa, which is supposed to be quite.
There's one of them called the cornbread Krakatoa Zoa, mate. Yeah, in America. I will find that. I will find this link. Let me find this link on my phone.
Cornbread. So the feed.
Cornbread, yeah. Krakatoa Zoa or something it was, yeah. Something like that, yeah. and it was going for $1,999 per polyp.
What?
I'll find it now, mate. I'll find it and I'll put it in. I'll show you.
1,900 for folk to put in the chat. Then, what about the best zoa in your opinion? Since we're on the topic of zoas, what is the best zoa in your opinion?
Well, I only have 3, and my favourite is the Rasta zoa. I think it's good. It's very affordable. It's easy to get hold of, and it grows well, and it's got good coloration. So I'm going to go with the Rasta, but I don't know enough about zoas really.
Yeah, that's a nice one. A couple of others I like are Seduction, a Rainbow Incinerator. They were about 15 to 20 quid a polyp, and they got really nice colours to it. I think for one really good value, Sunny D's are really, really nice zoas, and they're really cheap. But you get some really good ones. Utter Chaos, I think, are really nice. They pop under white and blues, and really cheap, and they grow really quickly as well. I find Utter Chaos, but there's some really nice ones that are really cheap. LA Lakers, someone's put down. They're pretty good as well.
Yeah.
I love my BBBs, the blue blonde bitch ones. I absolutely love them.
Yeah.
I think they look absolutely. I had 1 polyp in mine, and now I'm starting to get about 5 or 6 now. So it's starting to pull up. But
here's a good comment from Shane. Now Shane lives in America, and he's just commented this saying zoas are all named after strippers in the US.
I can believe that.
There's that Krakatoa zoa, yeah.
Oh yeah.
How much is that, Stu? Oh, $2,000. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
for that.
It does look nice, though.
What you see is what you get.
And that's so. How many polyps is on that? It doesn't matter. It's still ridiculous.
Free, isn't it? And it's really saturated as well.
It's saying it's free, yeah, but it's saying it's free. But on this picture, it was just showing 1. So I don't know. I don't know which one it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's still showing that it's $2,000 for that. It's just I wouldn't pay that if I won the national lottery. I tell you, no chance, mate.
I think you would, mate. We've seen some of your purchases.
Ross, what are you saying to me? What? Come on.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing.
So Jay, what were those 2 zoas you just showed us? Sorry, I know you've set that down. What was that?
So I believe, I could be told wrong. So that's my Rasta zoas there. I just need to see where I'm aiming the camera at here. Sorry.
On the left, yeah.
So that's the Rastas on the left. And then I think...
Are they Bamback? Are they?
And I think they're Utter Chaos, apparently, but I could be wrong.
No, they're not.
No, I think they're Bam Bams from what I've seen.
Are they
they're like Bam Bams.
Right, and get this one. So I bought them from the local LFS. That one I got from eBay. And these ones here, these are my worst corals. Wait up, is it
they look like Sonic Flares, them. Are they Sonic Flares?
It's hard to tell.
Mate. That's eBay. That's eBay ones. They're just not. They're struggling from day one.
Yeah, they look like Sonic Flares to me, then.
Yeah.
If they are and they colour up, they'll be really nice. I think Sonic Flares are pretty good.
I love mine. It's lovely.
And I think Backshift Reef have put up some nice ones. Utter Chaos, Mind Tricks. Mind Tricks are nice. Yoda and Space Chaos.
Yeah.
So a nice range of different ones there. Mind Tricks used to be really expensive. They were, I don't know, were they 60, 70 quid a polyp? But I think they've come down in price a hell of a lot since their heyday, so to speak.
My Utter Chaos on mine, they're the size of like 5p pieces. You know, the heads on them. They're absolutely massive on mine. I don't know why, because it wasn't like that when I first bought them. You know what I mean? I think it depends on your lighting. You know, how high you've got them up. You know what I mean? People say you've got to have highlight for those. I've placed mine all over my tank, and they seem to adapt to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, things like Utter Chaos, you could put them anywhere, and their coloration does not not change. They're just really bright, regardless of where you put them.
I mean, what I've noticed, so I picked up an Utter Chaos during the week, a single pollet, and the colour on it's phenomenal, but it doesn't seem to close, you know, at night time, it doesn't seem to close the same way that other corals do. It seems to be open a lot more than the other ones do. So I don't know if that's just something with the Utter Chaos or not, but it looks really, really good.
Stunning Utter Chaos. I love them. I love them ones.
So let's move on. What else could we talk about? So here's one for you. If you guys could go back in time and change one thing that you've done with your setup, what would you change and why? And I'll also put this in the comments, so if anyone wants to answer this in the comments, then go for it.
Tricky question, that.
So what mistakes have we made? Is that what you're asking?
Well, if you could just change one thing, either one thing with your tank or one thing you've done, if you could change something and go back in time and change something you've done, then what would it be and why?
So one thing I wouldn't do again. So in this tank, when we got it, my wife and the boys set up the rock work, and it's a wall of rock, which I liked at the time. What I found kind of 5.5 years later is that you'll see in the middle of the tank there's a dark spot. You can't really put any corals in there because the rock is kind of sheer from the bottom upwards. So you kind of got a bit there. So I could put some Gorgonias or something like that there. So I wouldn't do a kind of rock face before, because also you get a few dead spots. I mean, I still love the tank and everything else, but I wouldn't go down that route. Again, it was quite old school and it's harder to maintain. As much as I like the tank and everything else, I wouldn't do that anymore. Other than that, there probably wouldn't be anything different I would do in terms of the kit I chose and all that kind of stuff. And also some of the SPS I put too close to one another. So actually when they're growing out into big colonies, kind of 5-6 inches, they've all gone into one another. Some of them have started coral warfare. So I would space the corals out. Whilst at the time you cram it in, if you're going to have a tank for 2, 3, 4 years, you need that space. Because actually, if you grow corals where there's loads of space around and the way they grow out is just fantastic. They look much better. But if they're closer together, they're all entwined in one another. So that's two things for me, I think, Ross, in terms of what I would do differently.
That's pretty good, man. I think for me, and mine's is very similar. So my scape that I've done, at the time when I done it, I think there's actually a couple of comments saying similar, but when I done my skate, I done it based on what looked nice from rock work. Then when it comes to it's in the tank and you realise, well, actually I need to put coral in here, you find that you're kind of limited to some of the places you can put them. So I think that's my biggest one anyway, that I think, obviously I've not been in it that long, but that's the one that I would definitely go back and change on mine anyway.
Yeah.
Steve?
Me? Yeah, sorry. Biggest mistake thing. For me, I'd probably say not buying a tank that I got, going smaller first. That would probably be my mistake. You know, the biggest thing. I should have bought the larger tank. You know what I mean? Saved that a little bit and bought a larger tank first thing. That's what I think I'd done wrong. But I suppose the smaller tank was the learning curve. And like Jay said last week, it was Jay and I think yourself, was that you don't know whether you're going to like it. You know what I mean? So if you invest thousands of pounds into a reef, or a larger tank, and then you find out 6 weeks down the line, 7 weeks down the line that you can't afford it, or you can't do it, or you just, you know, you're not cut out for it, you don't want to do it no more, then, you know, you've lost all that money and you will not get your money back on a reef. That's one thing that we could all be guaranteed of, is that you won't make your money back on a reef tank selling it secondhand. That's for sure. You know what I mean? So the biggest mistake for me was going small, but I didn't know that I was going to love it as much as I do. So, you know, I suppose it's swings and roundabouts, I suppose. You know what I mean? But that's my mistake anyway.
Yeah. Jay, anything you would do?
One of the mistakes I made was I was a bit naive to the cost of the hobby, if I'm being truthful. Even though I had a Red Sea Max Nano and it was like $550, and I thought all in one, $550, sand, water, maybe £1,000. So I budgeted just over £1,000 for it. And obviously, when you start putting the kit on, you've got the checkers and all that other stuff. You forget how much stuff you need around the tank to run it, the maintenance side. And I've just grossly underestimated how much it's going to cost to run a nice reef tank. And that was just because I was new to the hobby. I just thought you only need a few bits. After the tank, you only need a few bits. And then experienced reefers will say probably the tank is one of the cheaper bits that you buy in your kit, especially now with the price of corals and stuff like that. The price is ridiculous. So I've spent 3-4 times as much as I originally budgeted, and it's just not that I didn't do my research. I just wasn't aware of the cost of all the other things apart from the tank. Yeah, that's the main one.
I think that's
if I could change something, it'd be to do with Dr. Tim's
instructions.
Yeah, because I still believe, and I will stand up in court and say that these instructions on here are wrong. Because it says you have to put 4 drops per gallon, and I did that to the plan, and it took me nearly 2 months to cycle this tank. Which, really? To be fair, it's a good cycle, but it took way too long because I followed this. And every time I disturbed the sand bed, it released more ammonia. So I just kept getting ammonia spikes after ammonia spikes. So if you're using Dr. Tim's, I don't know if anybody else has used it, I would now use 1 drop per gallon, and then I think it'll work pretty well.
Do you know what I use,
from
Jay?
What you say with that, Jay, I obviously watched your video, Jay, before I done mine. And when I done my actual cycling of the tank, I only dosed 1 drop per US gallon in mine. Now, I know you had said that, and I think there's a video somewhere that Dr. Tim's actually says it as well. Right. I know that the instructions say 4, but I think there is a video somewhere, or it's something that he says with that. And it's only 1 drop that you put in. So after you saying that, I put in 1 drop in mines per gallon, and mines was cycled, albeit some people said it was a light cycle, but it was cycled in just over 2 weeks, I think it was. And it works really well. Yeah, it does say add 4 drops per gallon there, Jay, but I think it's too much, to be honest. And like you say, I kind of had that issue.
But what's interesting, you buy ammonia. When I've taken that approach of getting ammonia in a tank and letting it cycle naturally, I've just used a prawn, just thrown a prawn in the sump, and that has triggered the cycle. And then when it disintegrates, I take it out, and then you take it out, and it will take you from the ammonia through the cycle of nitrite and into to nitrate. If you're going to do it that way, and then add fish, and it's a proven method that people have been using for donkey's years, and I think it's really, really simple. But Ross, I think
that's exactly what I did, Paul. Exactly the same. I did use the Dr. Tim's, the all-in-one bacteria. I tipped all that in, but as opposed to using the ammonia source, what Jay has got, I just put a same thing, half a prawn in a bag, the filter media bag, stuck that on the side of my tank, and let it cycle that way. And then when you could smell it anyway, it started to rot. Take it out, and then put another one back in. And I did exactly that. I think it was slightly longer though. It did take about maybe 4 weeks to fully cycle, but it was seems a lot quicker than what you did anyway, Jay. For sure.
Yeah. Because that way you won't keep on triggering ammonia and going back to square one like Groundhog Day. Because every time you put it in there, you go back to that initial stage, and you'll never get to the end where you trigger the nitrate and the other two go to 0 and you think like game on, I'm now ready to go to that next stage. And I've seen people dose ammonia, and they don't get anywhere for that very reason, because you don't let it go through the I suppose you're triggering a natural cycle, aren't you?
That's right.
That. Yeah. Ross, there's quite a few really decent comments in here from earlier on around what people would change around. People would get a bigger tank. Some people would change their rockscape. Neil's Reefs talked about I originally went all TMC, and I remember his videos, and he's ended up replacing a lot of it for Ecotech. So there's some really good comments in there what people would do differently.
Yeah.
So Ryan, what would you do differently? I know you're pulling there. What have you got? What did you go for, and what have you got now? I know you got to kind of scramble around and put some comments in there, but it'd be interesting to see what you've done.
I think isn't inscaping one of those sort of things where no one's really 100% happy with it? It's very difficult to kind of be 100% not happy with your scape that you make. It just seems to be one of those things in reefing where people always think that's something I could do better, and I'll have another go and I can do it better. I feel I can do mine better now. And a bit like Paul, I've got like a large cavern which is really dark, and effectively it's dead space in a small tank. That's not great. So I think scaping is a really good topic, and it's really difficult to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
But what you find, I've learned now, if you just do lots of flat shelves, you put in a way it doesn't matter, because what I found, when you start growing out colonies, you won't actually see the rot work. So whilst you see some of them look like a work of art, which is great, if you get to your goal, which is to have really big corals, you won't see it. But I think, like you, Jay, if you've got black spots in there, it doesn't matter what you do in terms of how big the colonies are. You're going to have that black spot unless you can have things growing up in front of it. That's probably the only way you can get around it, I would say. But you can see some of them; they look fantastic, and you shouldn't see them. A really good reef after 4 or 5 years, you won't see it at all. But I get the point in the early years, and it looks like a craft the way some people do it, and you go, "Wow, that looks amazing."
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. What I'm going to do, Ross, is if you want, I'll do a test on that cage keeper to see what the reading is coming up.
Yeah, that'd be perfect, mate. I think it was Woody was asking how you're getting on with it, so yeah, that'd be ideal, mate.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if this works on here. This is a separate, thing to your live stream, to your stream. It's my mobile phone, so if it works, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if it switches on. Yeah, so I can walk into the living room and do it. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to press it now to see. It might work, it might not.
So Ross, do you want to go back to the previous question while Steve's setting up? Because it was on around why wait 2, 3, 4 weeks when you can use ATM colony? And Russ, I totally agree. I just think there's different ways. So I've used colony before. I've used it where you put colony, put the fish in straight away. On one of the tanks I set up for a year, I did an 11-week cycle, and I'd done that because I wanted to avoid the ugly stage, and that worked really well. It was so frustrating. I didn't put fish in for 11 weeks. I did a long cycle. I did ghost feeding, but yeah, absolutely spot on. ATM colony and also Dr. Tim's works really well if you want fish in an instant. My only drawback I think on that is that because you've got the lights on, unless you go with fishing with no lights, you can trigger the ugly stage, and it could be worse than if you go for a longer cycle. But I think it's personal preference really, and I would say that's a spot on in terms of why wait. You don't have to nowadays, do you? Whereas before it was like 4 weeks and tapping your toes waiting for it to happen.
A number of people have put ATM colony, and based on their recommendation, I think Neil said it, and obviously Haley said it. I'm going to do ATM colony next time because obviously it's a good way of doing it. A lot of people have recommended that, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. What I have seen is people don't follow the instructions, and they end up having problems. But if you follow the instructions, I think you're virtually nailed on to be successful, from what I've read. And usually when people had problems, they just haven't followed the instructions, or haven't put the required number of fish in, or they've just messed around with it and not read them.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of different people. So I think the one I had up there from Haley said this tank was water in, ATM colony, fish corals in. That was September, still happy days. So there's another ATM colony, and then UKM 120 said use Dr. Tim's, Fritz and ATM colony on different tanks and no issues with any of them. So yeah, I think it's just a case of what works for you, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I suppose it's modern technology or chemistry, isn't it? So therefore, like if anything else, you can do things a lot quicker and safely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I take it we're having issues trying to connect to you just now, mate.
Yeah, it's trying to connect to my mobile phone. We had an issue with this last time, but what I've got is I've got my daughter's mobile, which is an Apple. So I'm going to see whether that one works.
Yeah. There's a comment from DC Reefing saying Brightwell Aquatics Microbacter XLM was done in 12 days.
Right.
That's good, isn't it? That's really good.
Yeah. I haven't actually heard of that one, to be honest. But
UK 120. Did they have a preference? Obviously, they said all three. Is the one that they thought was the best? I'd be interested to know which they felt was the best out of all of them. Obviously, they've had no issues with any of them. But is it easier to use one rather than the other, or I'd be interested to know that which is the preferred option out of those three.
yeah, there's another one from Russell there. I use Seachem Stability and Prime for QT fishing on day one. Many ways cycle tank, personal choice. Yeah, totally agree.
There's so many different on the market now. Because Red Sea, they used to have a popular one whereby it take quite, I think it's the mature Red Sea mature, and that took, I think it takes 14, 20 days, I think. But I'm not too sure how popular that is nowadays compared to you can do day one and pop and drop, as Paul has said.
Yeah. So there's another one from Paul, it's the Reef Community Worldwide, saying Fritz. I think that's been another popular one I've seen. Fritz Turbo Start, I think it is.
Yeah.
Colony was the easiest. Throw fish in and get on with it.
Okay, so yeah, ATM Colony it is then.
Yeah. Oh, no.
There we go, mate.
Yeah.
Turn the sound off on one of them, Steve.
Yeah. Turn the sound off on your laptop, Steve.
Is that better?
No, you're still echoing. Put one of the streams on mute.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can hear myself though.
You still got echo. More. Have you put the laptop on mute?
Right. 1 minute.
We'll keep an eye on your living room, mate. Don't you worry.
So here's the same comment from the other week.
Mate, good evening and hope you're feeling good. It's great to have you on the chat, honestly. I used to love your Friday night live streams.
Nah, so I think I've muted Steve just now, just till we get figured out.
That's okay. If you muted that end, then that'll be okay.
Are we saying that you look like someone else has said that you look like Michael?
Yeah, there's been a few comments for that actually.
Especially where he wore his hat the other day in a video. Woody's Reef. I think he certainly he gave that impression of being him in disguise. There was another interesting comment further back up about the use of black sand. And I think someone said they would change, they wouldn't have black sand again. I must admit, I wouldn't use black sand. I don't know if anyone else has got any experience of using black sand before, but it's not something that I think looks particularly good. That's my personal preference.
Yeah, I know we touched on last week about, glass bottom tanks or bare bottom tanks. But the black sand's the same. I personally don't like the black sand. I don't know if anybody else does run black sand, but Steve, you're still on mute, mate.
How's it going? How's the technology going, Steve? No,
still on mute. No, still there, mate. No, still on mute.
JB Aquatics says some black sand has metals in it, which is clearly not a good thing.
I think we had a thing about bare bottom and sand, didn't we, last week? And I think
we did.
Personal preference, but I prefer the sand because it gives you more options of what you can put in your tank as well. You can have it looks better, but you can also have the gobies and all that sort of stuff, can't you? And It looks more authentic. Yes, Reef King's in the house. Good to see you, mate.
It is.
Yeah, and Reef Community worldwide has said about volcano sand is black, contains metal. So it's someone else who's kind of big cross on that. It's the last thing you need a lot of in a tank.
Mm-hmm.
You see quite a lot of black, whether it's sand or grit or whatever it is in fresh water, don't you? I know, Ross, you've got quite a lot of experience in that. I've seen that certainly far more than, I'm an expert in fresh water than you do in marine.
Yeah, so believe it or not, I have actually had a freshwater tank with black sand in it. I just tried it for something different. I didn't like it, so I ended up taking it back out again. But I did try it, and I just didn't like the colour of it. But you know, the freshwater one's slightly different. It was a hell of a lot bigger sand. It was more gravel than sand that I used, so it was a bit different, to be fair.
And there's another comment from Jordan there saying, I read it can get stuck in the flipper and scratches the glass due to being magnetic, which really kind of backs up what two other guys are saying there.
Yeah. So Steve's trying to join again, but we're still getting bad feedback, I'm afraid.
Steve's like an estate agent. He's just showing us his whole house here. I don't know what's going on. We're just getting a good
Steve, maybe try, if you turn your volume down on the phone, Steve, it might work.
So there's another comment in there. So that's Reef Community Worldwide has put rubber magnet in your sand. You'll see stuff stuck to it. I've seen videos on that. I don't know if people do that just as a matter of course, whatever sand that they get. Because I heard that certain sands do seem to have metal in them, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that I've ever done. I do actually have some sand left over from when I added the tank, so I might do that, try it and see what I can actually get from it, if there is any metallic in it or not.
Right, I'm back. Are you with me?
Yeah.
That's better, mate. Back.
Well, you did see it briefly. I don't know what's going on, but I know like interfering. But basically, I've just activated another test done, and as you can see now, this is the one previous to it. So this was done at let me see. I'll bring them up now. This was done at 8 o'clock. This one. So these are the parameters. This is the parameters. I think I can focus.
I think if you move it closer to the screen, mate. Move it closer to the screen, it should come in. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
So now it's running a test. So as you can see there, these are, I run mine 10 to 10.5. But I'm having a few issues here. It was going over 10.93, so it was going to 11. But that was because, you know, I had to reset it because what I did was my calcium was going too high, you see, yeah. So what did I do? I decided to stop my calcium dosing, yeah, just for the day to see why it was rising too much. And then, but instead of switching my calcium off, I switched my alkalinity off. So it totally messed. I pressed the wrong button, you know, my doser. So it's stopped. So I didn't dose any alkalinity for about 9 hours, 10 hours. So it's off balanced it now. So I'm trying to get it on. But I've just done a test now. So that was reading. That's reading 10.35. That's reading 10.35 now. On now. And that's the measurement now. That's what it's doing now. So what it does is it takes the water out of the little beaker. It puts it into the waste, and then what it does is it puts fresh water, tank water back into the beaker. It only keeps the water in because obviously the pH probe's got to keep wet. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise it dries out. So that's the only reason why it does. So I've got it on a separate pipe on tubing that it'll put the wastewater back into a waste tin, and then pumps new water in. So it takes about 18 minutes, 19 minutes to do a test, and then it's done with. So come back in about 15 minutes or so, and it should be done. Yeah. So we'll see whether it's risen or gone down from 10.35.
So how much stability have you had since you've had it monitoring? How much has it varied around the 10 mark since you've had it?
I'd say it's dropped. I'd say at the height that the maximum that I've had on it now was when I dosed it too much, and it went up to 11.02. Yeah, so it went to 11.02. That was on the 11th, and then the lowest it's gone to that I've had, and that has gone to 997. So basically, it's gone like 1 DKH really. That's the maximum. Do you know what I mean? Now, some people could say that's too much swing. Do you know what I mean? Especially in the day. Do you know what I mean? But for me, it seemed now over the past, well, since this morning at 8 o'clock this morning, it's been rock steady at 10. So it's been between 10.35 up to 10.93. So really, it's 0.05. You know what I mean? DKH, which I can handle that. You know what I mean, Jay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you don't mind me asking, how much would it cost for that bit of kit, Steve? If you don't mind me asking, how much?
It costs with the reagent. I got the reagent, obviously the kit, and it came in at 609 for that.
Right.
£609. So I don't know what it is if we've got any Americans or fellow reefers in America or Europe. I don't know what it is over there, but I'm assuming maybe like $750 or something, $800. So, but I don't think American can get it at the moment, can they? I do believe that they're wanting it, but I don't think they can get it over there yet.
Yeah. So there's a really good point in here by Reef Community Worldwide in terms of if it's testing at the same time you're dosing alkalinity, would that cause a problem? So do you draw the water from the same chamber that the alkalinity is going in? Because I suspect if you was unlucky enough to do it at the same time, that could cause a bit of a problem. Yeah.
Well, I've got it dosing at this moment. I've got it dosing testing 6 times a day. Yeah. Now I'm not going to keep it at 6 times. I've only got it 6 times just to get, just to see over the next week or so to see where it rises and where it drops, so I can see a bit of a pattern. Yeah. And then I can adjust it accordingly. But where the intake comes from mine is in my sump, obviously. Yeah. But it's in where my skimmer is. So it takes the water from where the skimmer is, yeah. Whereas when I dose my alkalinity, I dose that in the return chamber. So it's a separate piece, do you know what I mean? But so no, it won't have any effect. It won't have any effect on the outcome because I'm not dosing it. I'm not taking the water from the return chamber. I'm taking it from the skimmer section. So no, it won't have an effect with that.
So they won't mess about it.
But what I do want to mention, an old Reef Community Worldwide, he's got one. I know he's bought one himself, or his wife has bought him one. He was saying, I do want to say that they do say you don't need to take the wastewater out. So when it's tested the water, you don't need to actually take. You don't actually need to take it. Out of the actual test tube. You can put it back into your tank according to what Reef factories say. Now it's entirely down to yourself if you want to do that. For me, I don't really want to put the reagents back in my tank just in case there is an adverse effect to it. But so I just dose it. But then what I do is I've run a separate pump, a D&D pump, and I dose 50 ml because it takes 50 ml of water out of your tank. I put 50 ml of salt water back into the tank of clean salt water. You know what I mean? And then basically the 50 ml that's been tested, I take away and it's put in a waste container. So that's the way I do it. You know what I mean? And it seems to work well. So we're going to leave it at that.
Fair enough. Just a few other comments here, Ross, I've just seen. Chillen said that Swiss and salty tank. It was the link I showed you the other day. The guy who's got a cube, he's got black sand and it looks like it's a volcano. I agree, his tank looks amazing. He's got black sand. So there's that one there. Ryan said around he changed his scape so it allows his aquapora to grow out, which goes around the mistake I certainly have made about piling SPS too close to one another. There was another one in here around someone using the Red Sea Mature. That was Bravo 20 and it's got no pox in it, which obviously means you need to run your skimmer. And I think Bravo 20 didn't use his skimmer and it killed a couple of his fish. And someone else has said, I wish I'd done more of my scape to compensate for cobbles growing out. Some really good comments in there.
There's another one from Neil asking a question here, but before I jump into that one, I know that Paul, Reef Community Worldwide, had said about running a magnet across the sand. So I've got a bag of Carib Sea here, which is the Fiji pink sand. So I just took some of that and put it in this jug here, and I've sat and ran the magnet through it, and there is absolutely nothing on the magnet. So whether the magnet's not strong enough or it's just I've been lucky with that, but I haven't managed to get anything from this sand here. I might have just been lucky, I don't know. So it's maybe worth trying anyway, just to see what you can get, but I got nothing.
Either that or that is a very good sand. I know it's a very popular sand, isn't it? The Carib Sea one. Maybe it is just a high quality sand, and it's clean. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back, Neil Smith, Reefing UK, is saying needs advice on lights for his Reefer 250. Got the chance to buy 2 Rad XR15s G4 quite cheap, or did I just get another AI Prime? Wonder about Ecotech software. Is it as good as AI? What's your thoughts on that one?
So I think it depends on what you want to keep, because a Reefer 250 is what, 3 foot in length, isn't it? And then front to back about 50 centimeters, I think, roughly. If I was going all SPS, I'd probably go more than 2 XR15s on a 3 foot tank. If I was going for LPS with a couple of hardy SPS, I think that is sufficient, because I've got a 3 foot tank and I've got 2 XR15s, but I've also got hybrid, which is 4 T5s, and I don't think 2 XR15s would be sufficient on a 3 foot tank. I haven't got any experience of AI Prime, so I can't comment on that. The Ecotech software Mobius is pretty good. I like it. I've used that, but I can't compare the kind of AI compared to Radian. That's my take on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Paul. I haven't run the Radions. You run the Radions, don't you?
I love Radians. I think they're really good. I've got them on the big tank here. I've got them on the 170, and I've got them on the DD 900. 3 different setups, but I don't personally think SPS and 2 XR15s would do the trick. They're good lights. You just don't get enough spread, I think, to do SPS in a tank of 3 foot.
Yeah, like you said, really, where it says to buy 2 Radion XR15 G4s, that I think that will be sufficient if you're only going to be going LPS and softies. Yeah, I do think that will be enough. But for going on for me, I run 3 Hydro 26s on my 4 foot tank, and I've never ever had an issue with AI. I've never had a problem with connecting it. I've never had a problem with like dropout or anything like that. It always seems to be really good, you know, for me. So maybe I'm lucky, maybe I've just been fortunate, but I've never had an issue whatsoever, you know, with them. And they actually grow SPS, LPS. They keep everything. Well, you just see in the tank, they do the job. Do you know what I mean? But I think anything over 3 foot, you need to go with three lights. I think, but. That's my choice. That's my opinion. I run 2 on this, and it wasn't enough. And then I got the 3rd, and it just gave a total different perspective on it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think 3 XR15s, if you was going heavy SPS, would be sufficient, because you could space it out, and you wouldn't get real low power towards the edge that I think you would get with 2 of them. BRS TV again, they did some really good videos around what lights and how many lights on a tank, and they did all tests around 2, 3, 4, 5 foot, how high they would be. And obviously with the Radians, if you get the mounts like the ones I've got there, that I think are about coming 9 or 12 inches above the surface, and I'm assuming they've put that together with the optimum kind of height behind above a tank in mind, I think.
Yeah, they did. Yes, I seen that one, Paul. They did. It was basically to see the spread, wasn't it? You know, of the light spill, and whether it would fill the whole, you know, the whole square. I'm sure, if my memory serves me right, it was the XR. I don't know if it was I think it was the XR15 Radions. They said it would be sufficient for the 2 foot spread, but it would lose out, you know, towards the sides. So if you had, if you had the side and the back, if you put a par meter there, they were reading like 120, 130, whereas at the top, they were reading more like 310, 320. So I think it's just the overspill. Whereas if, like you said, if you put 3 on a 3-foot tank, you can space them out equally more, equally, but you're going to get more of a light spread.
Yeah.
Definitely with 3 of them.
I think also where JB Aquatics there, you got the 5s, and from what I've read, and I haven't got the Gen 5s, there's quite a big step up from the 5s compared to the 4s in terms of spread and also power. So I don't think that makes a difference. I mean, JB Aquatics, you on that 3x2x2, I'm assuming you're happy with that. And what is that? An SPS, is it a mixed reef? Because I think they are sufficiently a step up, and that might be okay. On 4s, which I've got, they're not. And I know Hayley's put in here about, I think she's got Gen 4s, Carnival Gen 5s. I've got 4. I've actually, my ones I've got here are 3s, and I'm really happy with that on a 5-foot tank. I've got 2 30s and 1 15, and it does the tank really well from an SPS point of view.
So there's a comment here from Bravo 20 saying, no, mate, this might be unpopular. What about putting the AI central and 2 extra 15s left and right?
Yeah, you could do. Don't see why not.
Don't see why that wouldn't work.
Why not? No, you'd just be running two different softwares, won't you? That's all. You know what I mean? So you wouldn't be able to sync them together. That's the issue. You know what I mean? So you'll have like you'll have your AR, you'll have your XR15s on one set program, but then you'd have to adjust the AI to very similar, similar like spectrum. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's entirely, it's entirely down to yourself, innit? What you want to choose, yeah. The way I look at it is, if you buy a good solid light, like the Kessels, like Reef King said, Kessels are fantastic, and I think the Kessels have got some of the best. The shimmer. I don't think any other light has ever matched the Kessel for shimmer. Like a proper reef shimmer. Yeah, no other light has ever matched it. But like the Kessels are great. The AIs are great. The Radions are fantastic. Yeah. But it all depends. Like if you buy them, you could always, if it's not enough light, you can always add on later on. Do you know what I mean? And you know that you've got the software to be able to add on to it. And it's just, it's a piece of cake. So for me, I would buy a decent light. Yeah. Buy 1 or buy 2 and then just add on if you need more light. You know what I mean? And I think you can't go wrong.
That's exactly what Haley's just said there in that comment.
Yeah. Absolutely. And also JB Reefing said G5's amazing coverage. So I think that talks to obviously the step up from 4s into 5s and what it gets. I know that, they're not cheap, are they? But if you get that coverage, then it's all worthwhile.
So speaking of lighting, since we're on that topic, now my lighting, the AI Prime, has the acclimation mode. Now I haven't used that, but is that something I should be using? Is it something that you guys use? Is it is it a gimmick? Is it something that is good? I don't know.
I used the that at the beginning, when I only had a few corals in my tank, yeah. The acclimation mode, I did use that, but I mean, when you come to the stage of adding more and more coral, every other week or every 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever, yeah, you can't keep acclimating you can't keep putting the acclimation mode on it. You know what I mean? It's only for the one sort of thing. So for me, I did it first time when I bought 5 or 6 corals, and then I left it on, and then after that, I never acclimated it. I never put any acclimation. What I tend to do is I leave my corals on the ground, leave them on the sandbed, leave them on a frag rack low down, and then basically I monitor them. If I see that they're bleaching or they're going brown, then I know what I need to do. I need to either raise them up or I need to lower them down. And your corals tell you what they want, you know what I mean? They speak to you, So for me, I just look at the coral. If they're unhappy, I see it, and then I move it to a space, and then you find that sweet spot. Then for me, that's my acclimation, and it seems to work. So
I agree. I used it once or twice when I first got the lights, but I'm like you. Everything goes on the sand bed to begin with, and then I decide where to put the coral afterwards. Even I bought a torch that I've put in the smaller tank that went on the sandbed for 2 weeks, and then I decided where I was going to put it. I put it there, and it's as right as rain on that. So I think would I say it's a gimmick? It's probably more than a gimmick. I think it's probably okay, but I just personally haven't really used it that much. And I think Ryan pulling the air out, putting aquapora low down to start with.
As far as I know, the Radiance doesn't have that setting. I've never seen an acclimation setting.
Yeah, there is.
I've got the Mobius app, obviously, which I love. As a beginner, you can't really go wrong with the Mobius app. It's got all the templates. So I think
it will do, Jay, because the AI bought Ecotech out, didn't they?
Sure, I haven't got it.
Or Ecotech bought AI out, didn't they? And they basically the Mobius app is exactly the same, or very, very similar to the AI app.
Yeah, it is. The AI app was out first, wasn't it? Because I remember getting the Nero free before it came out. I think this is great. And all of a sudden I downloaded Mobius and it's kind of identical.
It's exactly the same. Yeah. Because the same company owns
Ecotech
AI.
Yeah.
So they're just using the same software, but they're just using.
Would it be on the scenes? Would it? Is that where I'd find it here? So that's
it'll be on. Let me see if I can.
So I've just got these preset ones, and then I've made my own. But yeah, I haven't got it on here.
DC Reefing has said templates on your Mobius.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go there.
I'm sure it's on there. I think I've seen it. I'm just not close enough to my tank to switch it on, but I'm sure it's in there.
Templates.
Yeah. So there's AI and Ecotech are the same company. They merged, no money exchanged. So yeah.
These are my templates. It's not. I don't think it's none of them.
Yeah. Well, what you find in the UK, the distributors for AI and Ecotech are two different companies. But
So
I think they test AI. I think they do their testing in AI to begin with. That seems to be the test platform, and then they put it onto Ecotech. From what I've seen, and a lot of the technology goes from one to the other.
So I just use this one. I just use the LPS, and then they set the light template. So I can set the time, but then they do all the kind of which light needs to be on at what time. So I'm using this one at the moment, which is I'm not saying that I'm an idiot, but it's pretty idiot proof, to be honest.
You see on this one here, I can't see to get it there. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you see like that, this is from the frag tank. This is from the frag tank. But if I press on this moon button here, that moon button there, you'll see it there. It says it there, disabled.
Yeah.
Acclimation. It will have it on your actual spectrum, on your actual lights, and it will say whether you activate it. Now, if I press on the disabled, it'll activate it for the acclimation mode. But like I said, I've never used it. I did use it at the beginning, but I don't use it now. So
I just use the method that you talked about, Steve. Just start low and then just work them up the tank wherever I want them. Start everything on the sandbed.
Yeah, that's the best way, I think. You know what I mean? Over time, because all acclimation mode is exactly the same as what we're doing. Yeah, it's just adjusting your corals to the right light spectrum. That's all it is. You know what I mean? If you're not going to be stupid to stick something right up on the top of your light where it's getting 400 par or 420 par, knowing that you've just bought it from an LFS store that's only running 120. It's just you're not gonna do that. You know what I mean? So stick it on the floor, and over time, over a week to 2 weeks or whatever, you see it, it'll tell you, it says it itself. You know what I mean? If it like a zoa will curl up or it'll expand. If you see a zoa expanding, that means that it needs more light. Do you know what I mean? So you just move up a little bit, and it'll adjust to it, and then it won't expand then. And you just work. See it yourself, you know what I mean? That's the way I've done it, and it always seems to work. So,
just one comment in. So T5s. There's one comment in here. Reef community worldwide, over a decade in a hobby, yet me saying 2 XR15s. I've grown a SPS dominant tank. They said it's not enough. That's just I wouldn't do that in a 3-foot tank.
Yeah,
I personally wouldn't do that. I'm not saying you can't do it. Just if I set up a 3-foot tank and I wanted SPS dominated, I'd have more than 2 XR15s. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. That's just what I would do, Paul. If you can grow SPS dominated tank with 2 XR15s in a 4-foot, then then great. It's just my personal preference and my personal view. I didn't say you couldn't do it, just that I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do that way, Paul. And the reality is there are so many ways of running a tank, but if you've done that, then fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's probably the big thing with the hobby is there is so many different ways to do different things, and what's successful for some people maybe isn't successful for others, and there's just so much variety. I don't think there's not a right and a wrong way to do anything really. I think there's very different ways to do all different things. So
yeah, it's like the biggest talking point in a hobby is like how to reduce nutrients. People say, put solutions in your tank. Yeah, people say run an algae scrubber. Yeah, people say run a refugium. People say run one of these ALR reactors. Yeah, there's so many different ways, and people have their own opinions on what they want to use. You know what I mean? People go one route. Just because they go that route doesn't mean it's the wrong way. You know what I mean? What works for you might not work for me. So it's all about, exactly like you said, Ross, it's all about experimenting, what fits into your lifestyle, what you want to do, what you want to achieve, and that's it. You know what I mean, mate? That's the way I always look at my journey. And I take people's things on board. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? I soak it up. People advise me. That's how I learned a lot. But in the end, you're going to do it your way, and that's the way it is. You know what I mean? You're going to do it your way, no matter what people say to you.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point. That is, Steve. To be honest, you got to learn from your own mistakes, or listen to the people that you trust, don't you? You know in the hobby who you can trust on what they're saying. I mean, tonight I've learned about ATM colony, which I never knew about. That's something I'm going to give a go. And there's quite a few people taught me how to do the acclimation on my radians. I never even knew that. So, just listening to other people and just try and error. That's why I've got addicted to this hobby, because it's so hard and it's challenging and you're learning all the time. That's the addiction, I think, of the hobby. It's the beauty of it.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah. And like Russell said there, there's no single thing which makes a tank work, and there's no true words said. You know what I mean? Those are exactly spot on words. You know what I mean? There's no single thing. What works for me and what works for me and what works for Paul, might not work for you and Ross. You know what I mean, Jay? Nobody's tank is ever the same. No matter where you are in the world, my tank. If you did address my alkalinity on your tank, say, your tank would probably all die. You know what I mean? Because it's not used to it. Whereas if I drop my alkalinity to 7 or 8, I can't see it doing very well. It's just what it adapts to over time. You know what I mean?
It's interesting because you run your alk at 10. This tank behind me, I run that at 7. That's run at 7 since day one. And some of that, I've got a colony that's on the sand bed that's grown up to the top, and you've seen it, the blue tip formosas, they're growing out of the water, and it's fine for me. But other people wouldn't dream of running it at 7. It's just my preference on this tank.
I've just got the measurement in now, and it's reading 10.33. So before it was 10.35. So within an hour, it's just dropped 0.02. So it's dropped hardly anything. You know what I mean? So it seems a pretty consistent, pretty consistent thing. Like I said, all 10s. It's all in the 10s.
That's rock solid. That's rock solid. That is, Steve.
So for me, mate, I'm gonna reduce it to 4 times a day. Maybe not next week, but the week later. I'm gonna just see, like I said, I just want to see what the balance of it is, and then I'm gonna I mean, like Paul, like Reef Community is saying, there 7's a good number to be at. Now, you know what? That's entirely down his choice. That's his choice. That's what people's choices are to run at 7. But for me, if you're running at something like at 7, something goes wrong or your dosing goes wrong and it drops to 6, 5.5, 6, then you're in trouble. No matter what you say, you're going to be in trouble. Whereas I always aim, it says between 8 and 12. Do you know what I mean? So if I aim for the middle, which is 10, then I'm thinking, well, if it does go down, it's not going to be into the red zone. But if it goes up, I can still manage it that way. So if I look at the 10, But for me, that seems to do the trick. So, and that's what I'm going to stick to, and I'll never change now anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the other 2 tanks, they run at about 8.4 because I do water changes on those, and they align with the Red Sea Blue. No. Can you hear me?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I was just...
I run mine the same as Neil from Neil's Aquarium. I run mine about
8.5. Yeah.
Yeah, 8.5. Yeah, and I think we had this a little conversation last time, didn't we? We kind of decided that it was the stability of the number rather than the number itself.
Yeah.
Is what your tank will thank you for. So you know, like Hayley runs it at 7. I guess if she keeps it rock solid around 7, I bet she's got a really thriving, healthy tank. And obviously, Steve, many people probably seen Steve's tank. He's gone on. He's done one. I can say what I think about his tank now. He's gone. Anyway, I'll be truthful. Steve's got an amazing tank, and obviously, if he sticks it at 7, then it's obviously going to be good. Is my mic really quiet? Sorry, I've had this before. Sorry if my mic's quiet. I need to sort that out.
I think Neil's hit the nail on the head there, and a stable tank's a happy tank, like you're saying, Jay. I don't think it really, you know, the numbers do matter to an extent, but not as much as saying 7's better than 10 or vice versa.
Yeah, it's keeping that number flat, whatever you choose. Steve, loud and clear.
Yeah,
mate, loud and clear.
I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear a word of you then. It just went off.
Yeah. I'm interested to know if anybody's going shopping this weekend. Obviously, the weekend's here. We're all into our reefing mode. Is anybody buying anything this weekend? I'd love to know what you're shopping for. Is anybody going shopping this weekend? I'm doing a bit of shopping tomorrow. Going to buy a new coral. Yeah, sorry, I've already bought it technically, but I don't want to give too much away. But it's a nice piece. And Steve tried to buy it before I did.
I'm just looking at Bravo 20. He said, Steve, you said you were testing every 4 hours. There were a ton of manual testing there. Absolutely, mate. And that was the reason what I went on to just before, was my calcium started to raise. I've done my calcium at 430, and it's usually stable at that. But for some reason, it started to rise up, and I don't know why. So when I tested it the other day, it was reading at around 470, 480. So what I did was I went into my Kamoa dosing pump, and I went to switch it off. So, you know, to stop it for a few hours. But instead of switching the calcium one off, I switched the alkalinity off instead, the pump, which doses the alk. So obviously my alk wasn't dosing for like 5, 6 hours, 7 hours. So when I realised what I'd done wrong, I went to switch the calcium on, and the calcium was still on. So what I've done is, that's the reason why I've done manual tests, is to see where I was. So instead of dosing every 4 hours, I manually tested every 2 hours just to get it to see where I was, whether it was balanced. And now it seems to be okay, like you've just seen. So that's the reason why, mate.
So just seen an interesting comment here from Super Yellow Tang. Stable water is a disaster. If you keep it spot on all the time and something goes wrong, you lose things. If you get your coral used to parameter swings, they'll be much hardier.
Ooh.
That's
a different take on it all.
Yeah.
There is some science behind that, I'm sure. Yeah, I can understand. You can understand the logic
there must be.
It.
But I mean, like I say, I've only just started, and everything that I've read says you want stable water, so I can't argue it. I don't know, but
that's a new one, because everyone you read is like, stability is key. That's what everybody says. Stability is key. That's the main thing. That's what they all say in it. You know what I mean? So that's very interesting. I never knew that one myself.
I get the theory behind it in terms of the corals get a little bit stressed, but they become hardier and more resilient to that, as opposed to they're flat, rock solid, and then if something happens, they bail out. So it kind of makes sense. I probably won't try it, although I'm sure that the tank over here is like that, because I'm not the most conscientious of reefers. That's why I only go for hardy SPS. and nothing more than a red planet, I would go in this one, because I know I'm going to get it to strip by the swings of the parameters, ALK predominantly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that was a controversial one there.
That is a curveball, isn't it? That's
a good comment.
So,
Jay, there's quite a few decent comments in here from people, what they're going to buy at the weekend.
Mother's Day gifts, I think.
Mother's Day. Gal say, go away, I can't buy anything, which is a common theme, that he's locked on the Isle of Man, nowhere to go, and just looks at his tank of water with nothing else by the looks of it.
We need a campaign for Gal. Let's sort him out.
I think what we need to do is do a delivery for Gal. We'll all go and take him some corals and fish over.
Yeah.
Chillin's just put a deposit down on a torch in Kraken corals. Said reserved for Jay on glass. He said it was reserved for Jay on the glass.
Oh, nice. I love a coral. I love a torch coral anyway. I love a torch coral. Oh
yes. Nothing better than a torch coral, I don't think. Well, it's definitely one of the top ones up there. Definitely, that's for sure. Nice torch coral, and there's that many variety of them. There's just, you could just spend an absolute fortune. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think. Is it Northern Reefer? Northern Reefer on Instagram?
Oh yeah, incredible tank.
Oh my God, he must have every torch in one tank.
Yeah, it's just the Euphilia garden island. I don't even know what to say. It's an incredible tank.
Tentacles everywhere and whatever. It's awesome. It is an awesome tank.
So there's another one from Paul, Reef Commuter Worldwide. One thing people get wrong: everything should be dosed in proportion, and then he's put up a mil of KH equals a mil of calcium, mil of
Yeah, that is actually.
Well, this is another debate, which we could go on forever and ever, about this. With Paul, Now we all know it's proven, that corals take more of the calcium during the light spectrum. It's proven, Now, do people? For me, I dose 240 mil of each component of the apple forest every day, So I dose that over the 24-hour period, over the time, Now, Paul did say, I've just seen here, Steve, do you evenly dose all the elements on one of the comments? Now, I did do, but then I did see an increase in, that's the one there, I did see an increase, Now, obviously, when the lights are out during the evening at night time, then the corals are not taking the alkalinity, or they're not taking it as much. Do you know what I mean? So when at the first time when I did test it, used to test it in the morning, the alkalinity was like really high, and that's because the corals wasn't taking it. And then through the day, it started to dwindle. Do you know what I mean? When I tested on the Hannah checker. So what I've done is I dose more during light time, as opposed to the evening. So that's to answer the question, Paul. I don't dose evenly. I don't dose evenly all the way through. No, I dose less at night time, and I dose more during the day.
Yeah, I think a few people do that, don't they? I need to do that as well with my ALK. I think that's like the next level, isn't it? Once you've found out how much you need, start dialing it in for different times of the day when the corals need it. So that is that's good advice. That is, Steve.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we're pretty much at our 10 o'clock now, guys. So it's been our 2 hours up and done. So I don't know what you think. Do you want to keep going? Or are you quite happy to end here?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right.
I'm happy to carry on. If people want to stay for a little bit longer, or you want to stay, I'm happy to stay for another 15, 20 minutes or whatever. Yeah,
I'll stay. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone. If you look at this week, we've had about 40 to 43 people on for virtually the whole time. So thank you very much, guys and girls for joining. That's third week, and the third week in a row we've gone up kind of 26, 27 to, I think last week we said about 35-ish and up to 41, 42. So thank you for taking 2 hours out of your evening to listen and share the joys and woes of this hobby. But thank you, it's really appreciated.
Yeah, thanks very much. There's been some really good comments tonight. Actually, it's been some good debate, shall we say?
Yeah, and I think the more people that join, the more comments you get, the harder it is to keep up. So I know we've missed some apologies, and Paul's been pulling our chain on it. It's not deliberate. It is hard to get all the comments in. So apologies if we've missed your comment, and then if we do, we haven't got super chat or anything like that because none of us are monetized on YouTube. So you're gonna have to shout loudly and more than once. So apologies if we miss you. It's not deliberate, but it's gonna happen when we're chatting away, as you do.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first night that I've ran it on my channel, and hats off to you guys who've done it before, because you're constantly trying to do everything at one time. It's a bit difficult, but yeah, we'll get there.
So it's like the hobby. This is kind of learning how to do this. Walk and chew gum at the same time. When you're talking, you're listening, and then you're trying to look at the comments and stick them on screen. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and that's with 4 of us.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking down the chat now, and the names that are in this chat are really proven reefers from either YouTube or Instagram. There's some amazing tanks in this community here. So no matter what the advice is and the opinions that we've got, we're all just going to benefit from it, because there's some great reefers in this group that's joined us tonight. So thank you for everybody who's given me a bit of advice. And to be honest, that's why I'm here. I'm here to just get the advice from other people and listen to other people's ideas. So I just can't believe the people we've got watching and tuning in. It's incredible.
Echo that definitely, Jay, 100%. Like you said, it's this is one good thing with this journey that we're on, and that's because that's like you're learning something new every day. You know what I mean? Reefers who've been in it, 5 months, 6 months, like yourselves, 7 months, they learn. But reefers who've been in it 25, 30 years, they're still learning. You know what I mean? So there's always new products coming out. There's always new, being developed, and we all learn all the time. You know what I mean? And the more we share, the more we spread, the better it is for everybody. You know what I mean?
Is there anybody in the live stream who's got a topic that you'd like us to pick up next week? If there's a common topic that we can pick off from, or what people want to talk about, just stick it in the stream as well. That'd be really helpful. If there's something you want to cover, that'd be good as well. Where is the stream next week anyway?
So the stream is back on my channel, Fishpalace there, and we've got our first special guest. So we're going to have Dom from Kraken Coral. So we're going to talk about the life of an LFS, which I'm really looking forward to. I've never been to Kraken Corals before because I'm down south in Essex. I've heard really good things about it. I know some of you guys have shot there, and I know some people are online as well. And I know some of the people in the chat speak highly of Dom. So Dom's agreed to come on next week, and we're going to talk about LFS, talk about reefing, what it means to him. We'll let him talk a little bit about the shop and everything else. And then what we'll do, we're going to some questions for him as well. So I'm really excited to get Dom on and to get an LFS on, because a lot's happened in reefing, not least around what's happening with import bans, and you've got Brexit and price of corals, and how's COVID impacted the shop. There's tons of things we can talk about with Dom. So we're going to give him the floor, give him the stage, so to speak, to talk about, I suppose, LFS life, which will be really interesting. So that's going to be the main topic for next week, and then we'll go from there. So that's on Fishpalace. We'll put on the post, get the schedule up, and get it on Instagram as well. But personally, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, it'll be a bit different. It'll be a first for us guys, won't it?
Absolutely.
And go from there.
I'm really excited about that. But a lot of people are asking if Neil's had his hair cut yet, which is making me laugh. Every video he talks about his hair, not having his hair cut.
It's the first. It's the first thing he says.
Right, has my hair been cut yet? Has your hair been cut?
He said. I think he said it was in his last video. He was going to get his barber out to cut it in his garden.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
I think
for the weekend, his weekend video. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
No, but I've just noticed there. I think Paul might be having some difficulties. He's just said forgot his RO was running.
Yeah, that's it. Spotless water, mate. Get to spotless water.
We'll start that again.
That split opinions. That did spotless water.
Well, you certainly did, mate. Right. Certainly did.
There we go. There's another good comment, boys. Definitely get Neil on as a special guest. Legend.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You can't watch one of Neil's videos and not laugh. It just makes you laugh every time.
He is brilliant.
He's a good guy.
It is. He's funny.
He's
funny.
funny.
You know, and you know what's good about Neil, yeah, is he's had so many downs. You know what I mean, yeah. And when I say downs, he's had down, yeah. And yet he's just not let anything. But you know, he's just come back and he's battled it and he's battled through it and he's just stuck with it. And now his tank, it's beginning to get there now, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, his tank looks amazing now.
That's what I mean. So just shows, you know what I mean. It's but you know, just don't give in. Just carry on with it. You know what I mean? And you'll get there in the end. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, are we done, guys?
Yeah, I think that's us. It's been well over 2 hours now, so we'll call it a day there. But yeah, I just want to say thanks very much to everybody that has watched. Thanks for all the comments. Like Paul said earlier, apologies if we've missed any of them. We're really sorry. We'll try and keep up with them, but it's a bit difficult. But thank you to everybody that has commented, and thanks for joining in. Really appreciate it. So don't forget to check out all of our channels. I'll put a link in the description below for all of them. And like Paul said, next week it's on Fishpalace channel and special guests from Cracking Corals.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Happy reefing.
Thanks so much, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.